Every Friday by 7:30 p.m. and Saturday by 1 p.m. on Love 104.5 FM Abuja. Join Tracy as she takes you round your environment and its effects on you.
What about sunrise? What about rain?
Wherever you're tuning from, it's still the Living Earth program.
With me, Tracy Uziwe.
On Crowder Radio 104.5 Love FM, where we look at our environment and things that we have to contend on our day-to-day survival as a people, and our footprint, and how we have to go about this in a very sustainable manner so that the upcoming generation can have something to lean on and live their own time effectively. The coronavirus issue that started off all the way from Wuhan, China, a couple of months ago, and back then it sounded a bit too distant. It sounded a bit like, oh, it's a foreign thing. It doesn't have much to do with us. But as it is today, the reality is that it's right here in the shores of our country, Nigeria. But the good news is that it's not as deadly, okay, I would say as deadly, because a lot of myths and false information is going out there. But there's just something that is really working for us here as a people, that we still really need to maintain most of the structures that we have in place because it's been giving good results. And several agencies and government bodies are not left out in this fight to curtail this, because what they are doing at the background, quietly or silently, is adding to the result we are getting today, which is quite on the good side for every one of us. So we need to bring most of these things to your knowledge so that you know your own role, how you can take advantage of what most of these agencies are doing. And then one of those agencies is the National Biotechnology Development Agency. I'm here with the DG in the person of Professor Alex Akpa. He is going to be letting us in on what his agency is doing, because all hands really need to be on deck to make sure we win this war. It's really a silent war, but it's obvious we are winning. Prof, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about the coronavirus, can you just let us in a little background of what it's really all about again?
Well, coronavirus, as all of us know, started somewhere in Wuhan, China. And sometime probably in December, and by January the Chinese somehow were still trying to not to accept. In fact, it's reported widely that the first medical doctor, the clinician who first reported that unusual disease was killing Chinese in Wuhan, the government actually tried to find fault with him and things like that. And eventually he lost his life, fortunately. But from then on, this disease, which we thought was going to be contained within China or at most a few other countries around Southeast Asia, moved on to Italy, Milan and Italy. From there, like wildfire, it spread all over Europe, into Spain, into UK, United Kingdom, Germany, and of course eventually moved on to the US, where right now it has claimed so many, over 20,000 lives. It came down to Africa and of course to Nigeria. And in Nigeria, the index case initially came from Milan in Italy, and later, another wave of about 3 index cases came from UK, and moving forward, another 3 sets of infected persons came from the US, and finally, we had 1 or 2 cases that came from Germany. So you can see that in Nigeria today, the infection we have in Nigeria has actually come into the country from about 4 or 5 different sources. As scientists, when things like this happen, it's curious to us. We would like to know these different varieties that came from these different countries. All these different strains, are they all the same or are they different? What we have in Nigeria today is the same as what you have in Milan, Italy, Spain, so on, UK, Germany, all those places from which we have had influx of infected persons. So this is the type of thing we're usually interested in science, trying to find out why what we have in Nigeria now, is it still the same, or has it mutated, or is it different substantially from what you have in those countries from which we got the infection in the first place. And us, in biotechnology, these are the type of questions that are of interest to us. And of course, we're also interested not only in knowing the source of the problem, also interested in trying to, what can be done to manage, to get them, to control them.
Okay, so before we really delve into the matter, the first thing you brought up about, is it the same kind of coronavirus that we are having in other parts of the world that is ravaging people over there?
Yes.
Is it the same type we're actually having here?
Yes.
Or does the potentiality of the virus to harm people reduce with time or with distance?
Exactly. Is the potency here in Nigeria, is it less or is it still the same
have there
thing?
been any finding in that regards from your...
We are still on that, but we have the capacity, we have the capability to do, we have the capacity to do that. We are still on that, and in no distant time we should be able to come up with a definite statement with regards to that.
Okay, so...
But our molecular biology lab obviously has the capacity to do this, and we're looking at that at this time.
Okay, and then beyond trying to find out the variations, what other practical work is your agency, especially as a research-based agency, doing to help in the fight to stop the spread? Yes,
just like you may recall that the Honorable Minister just paid us a facility visit, and we tried to make all those known not only to him, but to Nigerians. Our molecular biology lab, which we have both here in Abuja and in Odi in Bayelsa State, both of them are well equipped to be able to carry out definitive diagnosis of coronavirus. And we think that our center, National Biotech Agency, can serve as one of the centers, major center for confirmatory tests of this infection in our country. And we also feel that we are uniquely placed. We are here in Lugbe. Lugbe has a population of almost 1 million, if not more. And all the way from Lugbe to the airport, there are so many communities on both sides of the road. There is no such facility where people can go for diagnosis, especially definitive diagnosis like the type we can give in our lab. And that's why we think we have made our labs available to the country and to NCDC for use in carrying out diagnosis of this, definitive diagnosis of this disease. And especially now that it has been confirmed that in Nigeria transmission is no longer index cases coming from outside the country, but we now have community. The disease is now being circulated within our communities. So it is important for the country to rapidly ramp up testing centers so that we go into our communities testing a much bigger population. But as it is now in the whole of the West Coast, in West Africa, Nigeria's we have the lowest test rate. The number of persons tested for this disease, that is not good enough. We need to massively ramp up capacity to test our people, not just people who have something to do with confirmed cases and so on, but we should start moving massively into our communities, and all those who have any type of symptom that is close to coronavirus should be tested. Because why it's important to do this also is that when you do diagnosis early, it's easier to treat. Most people who are caught, once if the disease is caught early, it's much easier to handle than if it's allowed to fester and get much more spread into the individual, the patient. Okay,
so now that obviously every facility and every possibility to get all hands to do as much as they can in the fight against this virus is really very, very necessary. So how has been your interface with other bodies like NCDC, for instance, since this process started, since this index case issue started in Nigeria?
Yes, that is part of why the Honorable Minister of Science and Tech paid this facility visit to help us showcase not only to Nigeria, but to NCDC the capabilities domiciled in this agency and which are available to the country in the fight against this pandemic. Not just that we have capacity to do definitive diagnosis of the infection, we also have some capacity in the area of diagnostics, diagnostic kits, and diagnostics itself. And even right now, for imported rapid diagnostic kits, our center can serve as place where validation can take place, determine the specificity and reliability of these imported test kits. So this is another area where we can come in to,
I think,
and with time we can also go into production of diagnostics locally.
Okay, when you talk about capacity, somebody will be like, it seems to be like a blanket statement. Can you be a little bit precise in terms of the equipment, in terms of the manpower? If your lab, National Biotechnology Development Agency's lab, should be converted as one of the laboratory for tests, how, when you talk about in terms of capacity, can you let us in on what?
No, that is why we invited the Honorable Minister. We have the most important basic equipment required for this type of study. We have systems like UV compartments where this organism can be handled. Okay. We also have RNA and DNA analyzers which can be used to analyze this organism. And most importantly, we have real-time PCR machines. In fact, we have up to 2 or 3 in this agency alone. Real-time PCR. Real-time PCR is at the center of this whole exercise. So we have molecular diagnostics is done using real-time PCR. Besides, NABDA is a big agency. We have over 32 centers, and most of these our centers, we have people trained in different aspects of molecular biology, which is what you need to be involved in things like this. So with very little training, additional training, all these people can get involved in this fight against coronavirus.
What this virus has actually made open to even the most solid economic world powers and all that is the fact that people now need to start looking inward to develop what they need within them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So are we going to possibly have a vaccine being developed from your agency, for instance, so that Nigeria doesn't have to just keep waiting for, when the world finds solution, that's when we find one? Because obviously from the way we are responding and then the result we are getting in the coronavirus issue, it shows that there is something unique about us that we can actually be able to take advantage of and probably provide solution to the rest of the world. So is it possible that your agency is working or looking towards developing a vaccine for this?
Yes, I agree with you completely. The present Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, in fact, led a delegation to Cuba 2008. At that meeting, we were able to finalize and seal our partnership with Cuba. So we have gone far. We have trained some capacity, human capacity. We have also some of the equipment we need. We have the technical partners we need, which is very, very important in a thing like this, because we don't have the time to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
Because to try to reinvent the wheel, you spend so much money and time. So
while at the expense of people's lives
at the expense of people's lives and survival. So because that's why in a thing like this, we have technical partners with whom we are going to work together, and they've agreed to partner with us to locally produce vaccines in this country, in this agency. And the vaccines to be produced will not only serve Nigeria as a country, our target is to be able to serve not only the west coast of Africa, but the whole of Africa. Our strong hope is that moving forward, before the next, because we have these viruses, you can see it keeps recurring. SARS came about 4 years ago. Now we have COVID-19. We don't know 3, 4, 5 years down the line, maybe another. This variant COVID-19 is a totally new virus. That's why we're even trying to understand its epidemiology and the way it works and the way it moves from one individual of one community to another.
Yeah, Prof, what your agency is doing beyond the medical aspect, the research work and the findings that comes from your agency is going to go a long way. So I wanted to look at the palliative measures now, because somebody made mention of the hunger virus, that it may end up eliminating so many people even before the coronavirus.
Yes.
And I know your agency is one of those agencies in the country that does a lot of research work, especially regarding our food and food supplements, and then how to multiply our food crops, our grains faster than we are doing in the normal traditional way. So are there research works at the background that can be deployed by farmers, let's say, after COVID-19? So that we can have rapid food production and supply, so that our people don't just get, after COVID-19, hunger get people to start doing funny things.
Yes, and with the lockdown, many farmers have not been able to go to farms again. And we have quite a good number of works we have done, both here and with colleagues. I'll give a few examples. The first one is with our colleagues in IAR Zaria. We have BT cowpea. BT cowpea, by the way, is beans. And beans is, some people regard it as a source of protein for the not too rich people. It is a very, very useful food item, very high in protein and so on. But cowpea, beans, has a peculiar challenge, and that is a tiny insect called maruca. Maruca is so devastating that it can eat up a 10-hectare farm of beans, of cowpea, in 10 days. It's such a voracious, highly destructive insect. So destructive that, in fact, it's a nightmare to farmers, cowpea farmers. So we have BT cowpea. This BT cowpea is able to withstand this maruca. Maruca has no effect on BT cowpea. And you see, Nigeria would have been able to meet its national demand for beans if not for the destructive works of maruca. Right now, we import beans from Niger, from Cameroon, and even from Chad to make up in the country. But with this BT cowpea, of course, the fact that the pests will no longer be able to destroy our crops in the field, Nigeria will no longer have the need to import.
So, apart from the beans, are there other research work?
Yes, of course.
That can help.
Yes, after beans, the other good example I want to give you is in the area of yam multiplication. We have a massive yam multiplication program. Last year, we did close to 1 million elite yam seedlings. Elite yams are those that are not only disease resistant, but also are high yielding. And we did close to 1 million last year. This year, our target is 5 million.
Okay, when you say you did targeting 5, what does that really translate to? Is it what you give farmers?
Yes, that is what potential we can give to farmers.
Okay.
In fact, our target, the 5 million yam seedlings we are doing this year, will go directly to our rural farmers to empower them. You see, if I don't know what part of the country you come from, you see, the most difficult thing is to get seed yams. Viable seed yams. And you notice that when you even get these these seed yams, they are of different varieties and different types. But what we do here is we take pure variety, that's why we call it elite variety, and everything you get from this source is consistent. So which means that it's more amenable to industrialization. You can export. You can use into production of flour, yam flour. You can also do pharmaceutical grade starch and so on from this because it's consistent. It's pure white. It doesn't change. It doesn't vary.
The major thing is that it can solve a food problem. First,
it can, yes. And not just solve them, but massively solve. Okay. You can imagine what 5 million yam seedlings is for this country.
How is that going to be disbursed? Are they going to pay, or
yes,
what structure do you have?
They come in form of seedlings. These seedlings we are going to distribute as our own contribution towards this whole fight against COVID-19, including post-COVID-19, at very, very highly subsidized rates to our rural farmers.
So your agency have the BT cowpea now,
yes,
and then the
yam multiplication program.
Okay, yam multiplication program.
Yes,
and this is going to be deployed even within this period, or is it after the COVID-19?
No, you know where the production we are doing now is within this period. But I think by the time we get through COVID-19, we'll be in a position to start distributing to farmers.
And I want to believe there are more of the pipeline that people can actually take advantage of.
Oh yes, there are many more products. And the next one I would like to talk about is we have developed biodigesters. These biodigesters are very important because they are for what I might call gadgets that enable you convert your waste into wealth. Now, a biodigester is like a tank. In fact, our scientists and engineers have produced it now in three different 250 liters, 500 liter, 1,000 liter biodigesters. These biodigesters, all you do is, if you have, say, the 250 liter biodigester at the back of your kitchen, you move all your biodegradable waste, all the yam peels, all the potato peels, cassava peels, vegetables, cuttings, all this, you throw them into this biodigester, and what then happens is you start, within a very short time, you can generate enough gas, cooking gas, to cook right in your kitchen, and you could also develop enough gas to generate electricity. So this technology will be useful.
Yeah, especially after COVID-19. There's so much prediction that there's going to be, some are saying,
shortage of a lot of things.
Several things. So there are several things that your agency can actually come up with to help an everyday Nigerian. Okay.
Yes. We're also right now looking at long shelf life tomatoes. You know, tomatoes, by the time you move tomatoes from the northern part of the country where it's predominantly produced, down to the south, Lagos, Port Harcourt, and so on, Enugu, where the high consumption areas, you lose a lot of this in transit. Post-harvest loss is quite heavy. We are carrying out research on how to develop tomato varieties that have longer shelf life, so that you can now transport them more cheaply and with little or no losses to other parts of the country. In addition, we're also thinking of setting up facilities in strategic parts of the country where these vegetables and fruits can be converted. We can juice them and convert them to concentrates so that big companies produce fruits and vegetables can come and take up these concentrates. Now, these concentrates you can do not only for things like tomatoes, you can also do it for others like oranges and mangoes and so on. So we are also looking at that to strategically locate this facility in different parts of the country. At certain seasons of the year, you have so much oranges all over the place. And at other times of the year, you don't find the oranges anymore.
And you see a whole lot of it getting wasted.
At that peak period, over 40-45% wasted and lost. The same thing applies to mangoes and so on. So we're also trying to address that by setting up these concentrates in strategic parts of the country, especially in those areas where you have a lot of these oranges and mangoes and tomatoes. We're also looking at the fish sector. because, fish feed used to come mainly from outside the country. So when there was a drop in the exchange rate of the naira, it wasn't favorable to people involved in fish business. The fish feed became too expensive, and many people involved in fish business actually closed shop. Now we have facilities. We have fish feed production plants. There's one in this our head office, which will go into production very soon. But for the lockdown, by now we should have been talking of commissioning of that plant. So this will produce fish feed for the country.
Because I know for this fish feed particularly, you know that when you talk about such line of agro-business, what takes almost 99% of their investment is the feed.
Yes.
So once they are able to control or manage or get it from
locally, source it locally,
it saves their margin, because most of them easily just get to lose out everything. And agribusiness doesn't seem to work effectively in the country because of the feed.
The feed.
Yeah. So if your agency is doing this much, I think it's something worth commending.
Even post COVID-19, we have a lot to offer in this agency.
So in rounding up, sir, there's so much might out there about COVID-19. Can you let us in on the biological component of it that make it to spread this quickly?
Well, there are a lot of it's a virus to start with. These are tiny RNA, DNA made of tiny parts. But one thing that is very unique about coronavirus, why it has spread so widely, is because of one or two advantages or capabilities that it has. The first one is that it's symptomatic. That is, people who have the disease and are totally symptomless can fully equally transmit the infection. That is one thing that has been understood.
Some persons are wondering, before the symptoms start manifesting on somebody that is a carrier, can the person be able to transmit to others?
The person can be able, there are strong indications that the person can transmit. And that is why this idea of social distance, that's why it has worked. It has been confirmed by that. That's what social distance is all about. Keep the distance, because somebody could be with somebody, the person is totally symptomless, asymptomatic, totally and completely, but the person will fully have the capacity to transmit the disease, just like somebody who has already come down with the infection. So this is one reason why it has spread. It has also been able to somehow sustain itself within the host. And not only that it sustains himself within the host, it lasts a little bit longer on the environment. That is why you have these hand sanitizers and so on. Most of the other viruses that came before it didn't used to last more than a few seconds outside. HIV/AIDS, for instance, cannot last outside human system for more than a few seconds or minutes, and it is dead, But coronavirus, from all indications, still able to infect a new person on the surface, either along railings or on tables or on surfaces. It can still remain there for up to 7 days and still be able to infect people.
Okay, and then
3, 4, even 7 days.
The face masks, it's obvious they are in high shortage, and then it's becoming like one of the biggest money banks for some persons now.
Yes.
So can some persons make from different materials and still achieve the same result?
Yes. So it is. You still achieve the same result. In fact, in many countries, even in Cross River State here in Nigeria, because they have a garment factory, industrial scale garment factory in Cross River State. The governor has given them directive to produce all the face masks for the state free of charge to all. And it's not done. It's not the hospital masks. They are done using cloths. So anything, even handkerchiefs, all this can be used as masks. Even outside the country, they also use. So it can be used, and it's quite effective in controlling and containing this dangerous virus.
Thank you so much, the DG of National Biotechnology Development Agency in the person of Professor Alex Akpa. The agency has a lot to offer even within now and post COVID-19 because we need to stay alive.
Yeah, thank you.
So Nigerians, a lot is going on at the background. So hold faith and do your own bit, keeping the social distancing. Prof, can you let us in on the other ones again?
Wash your hands with soap, running water, and then of course use your hand sanitizers much as possible.
And then for comments and observations, send text messages only to 07037519110. I take that again, 07037519110. So from me, Tracy Uzigwe, keep safe until I come your way again on this same dial and this same time. I love you.